Welcome back to Talkin Dribble. We have a massive episode today. Our second guest we've ever had on the pod and our biggest guest yet, Tom Boyd. Thanks for hopping on the pod, man.
Great to be here, boys. One of my favourite activities, talking dribble.
That's it.
So, yeah, it's good to be here. I will say I'm a bit offended by the 2021 membership on the back of the laptop here. Can we change that to maybe 16 or something?
Yeah, look,
I've got demons from watching that game.
That is actually poor. Didn't actually think of that. I chucked that on before, obviously. Everything went down. I think the 2016 one would look a lot nicer. I think we've got the DVD in the back though. We've got the finals whole run, so we're showing a bit of love. But yeah, can we just blur that out?
Everyone never noticed that.
I don't know.
Dude, I mean, like, look, I sort of have this like empathy for Melbourne supporters. I'm like, it's good that they won one, but also I didn't really like the players on their team at the time. Or like they were so good, but they were also like so full of themselves. And then, to have it happen in Perth and like, oh God, what a year. I don't think anything's good from that period of time. We'll just blur that out of our memories and move on with our lives, I think.
Literally, like 2 weeks out from the grand final, we were in the granny. BONT was like a Brownlow favourite. And I was like, holy shit, BONT's going to win the Brownlow. Oh, God. And then...
Was that Ollie Wines won that year?
Had a big year, but
yeah, I think the first ever episode we did in this studio.
No shade on Ollie. Just, I really wanted BONT to win.
Oh, I think we all did.
I still watch him today, BONT's, he's a couple of months younger than me, sorry, and he was drafted a few picks behind me, just saying. And you look at him, and as much as I love watching DAICOS and a number of the other boys who are at the top play, BONT's quality in his game is just, to me, he's the best player in the game, and he has been for a number of years. And for him not to win a Brownlow, God, it annoys me.
You hear that,
really irks me.
You hearing that?
Yeah, Lockie Neal's got 2, so that's all that matters.
Are you a Brisbane supporter, are you?
I am a Brisbane supporter and a big Knicks fan as well.
Big Knicks fan, yeah.
This guy's flying on.
He's having a good
Honestly,
time.
Harrow, man.
I feel like he's been through a few teams over the years by the sounds of things.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, 2026 Knicks fan, Harrow.
Since Jeremy Lin got me on board.
Insanity.
Insanity.
Very good. That was awesome. That was actually peak basketball, I think. NBA's really fell off since then.
Yeah, 100%.
That in 2016 Cavs, that was about where it was.
2016, just what a year.
Oh, man. Leicester City. I talk about it all the time. It must be like the most astronomical odds ever for those 3 or 4 things. So the Cubs won that year as well, I think.
Yep.
And obviously the Jamie Vardy Leicester City story.
Yep.
Oh, mate, amazing.
Insane. Yeah, that doco just came out recently.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
Everyone's raving about it.
Oh, yeah, Cavs, because we're massive NBA nuts.
Yep.
Cavs. I was actually going for the Warriors that year, though, because Steph's my favourite player of all time. But Cavs to come back. And in hindsight, I'm happy for LeBron.
You are short, actually. That makes sense, yeah. or the short kings.
Did not need that.
Yeah, we can't really resemble LeBron's games.
No,
we try and just chuck
6'9" and he runs like the weird.
I can only hope. So we just chuck threes up and pray for the best now.
Yeah. That sounds like it's a recipe for success. It actually really has ruined like junior basketball.
Yeah.
I remember going to watch I can't remember what we were doing. I think I was either playing some like basketball after I finished my career, and then you just watch these kids just run up and just chuck up air balls, and they're like, "Oh, but that's what Steph does." Yeah. I'm like, "No, Steph gets it in, bro."
Yeah, literally. And even just their warm ups, they just start shooting threes straight away. Like,
we all just wanted to dunk. That was like our whole thing when we were playing basketball.
Oh, same, bro. I completely relate.
On each other's shoulders.
Mini hoop. We had the best games going around. Yeah, I think we figured out pretty quickly that wasn't an opportunity for us.
Really
trying to shoot threes, but no, it has changed a lot. Obviously, yeah, the game is definitely seeing better days. But
back to that BONT chat, because we are probably. We're quite known for speaking about the BONT, at least the people who listen to us. We even have a top 10 Marcus Bontempelli looks throughout his career floating around online.
I must say, for a guy who is like uber footy focused and professional, which I think has obviously changed, he's got engaged and married and he's having a kid now, which is fantastic. But in particular his first few years when I was playing with him, certainly always been incredibly professional, but he was still a 21-year-old kid then, I'm like same age as me. And then sort of that middle block, it was like just footy. And again, he was always the most professional person, but it just seemed like he tripled down on like, hey, let's get the most out of my career, which is obviously why he's had such great results above and beyond his natural talent. And in even in that period of time of like, oh, footy's the only thing I care about, he still went through a few styles.
Yeah.
You know, like he was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, or he was listening to someone.
Oh,
And he keeps Doggies fans guessing every season.
I know,
Like,
and
is he bringing out the long hair? Is it short? He's got the beard.
You know what his biggest mistake was? And this has to be a fact. He just should have put some blonde tips in there at something at some stage. And he would have won the Shane Woden Brownlow medal equivalent. Like,
true.
he needs some blonde in
Would've
there. He's
stood
too
out.
unassuming. 6'4" and
100%.
you know, has 35 and kicks 2 every week, but needs the blonde.
Needs
I think.
it.
Might have won him a Brownlow at some stage.
Oh, we'll have to clip that up, put it out there, let Bont see that. Maybe next
Mate,
season.
Long hair, blonde streaks.
Oh,
Oh, come on.
Like
In a
Zeus.
ponytail.
Oh.
Like Zlatan.
Mhm.
Well, he's rocked the ponytail twice in his career.
Not a blonde one.
Not a blonde one. Not a
There's a
blonde one,
way.
man.
I love how it's taken. We've got one guest on. It's only taken 5 minutes for Bond Clays to come out
This is found
into the
out.
episode.
Not only that, but Bont style tips.
Bont style
Yeah.
tips,
You know,
yeah.
A new segment.
We definitely live up to the name, Talkin Dribble. We definitely
Oh,
live
we
up to
do.
it.
We do.
There's enough serious footy out there, boys. I tell you what,
100%.
there's been enough spinner. I mean, like yesterday, what did I get sent the clip of Tim English is going somewhere because Jordan Lewis said it on.
On Fox Footy.
Yeah, and it's like, did you watch the clip? He didn't say anything. He just said, "Oh, he won't be there," and everyone's like, "Explain." And he's like,
Yeah.
"No."
No detail.
Yeah, literally.
I'm like, okay, I can do that. Guess what? DAICOS is going to Tassie.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
Someone said
How
it
do
here.
you know? I don't know.
That's all the AFL
Oh,
shows.
it's crazy.
and it's
Hutchie's
all-
really generated this clip farming machine, hasn't he?
it's
Where
great.
now it's all about like, anyway, it is. There's some really good stuff still out there. You know, Hamish McLaughlin still does some really good stuff and
Yeah.
everything else, but it does feel like the masses of the airwaves have been dominated by these new, like, you know, here's exactly what is going to happen, and it never eventuates.
1% of it happens.
Didn't, I saw something yesterday, and this may not be true, but didn't Sam McClure say that if you don't back in Carlton for the flag, you're crazy?
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if that was this year. That was maybe the start
that was
of
last
last
year.
year.
That was-
I don't care if it was,
Yeah.
in,
I
if
think
it was
that
in
was
the last
23.
30 years. That is the most insane thing I've ever heard. I was a Carlton supporter. Like, God, they haven't won a flag in almost exactly 31 years because it happened a month after I was born. So,
Yeah, he's had some outlandish takes for sure. Some crazy stuff
what's
out
that?
there.
What is that podcast they do? Is it called?
Tradies.
Tradies.
Like with,
Oh,
yeah, because they
gosh.
basically, it's just him and Mitch Cleary talking about trades and potential
I will
moves.
say, I don't know Sam as well. I've run into Mitch. I quite like Mitch. He's actually a good fella. And I remember him back in the day when he was door stopping and doing like the worst job in media.
Yeah.
And I'll be interested if Mitch remembers this, but I remember him coming up to me at Winton Oval and asking me a question. I'm like, Mitch, I can't say anything. He goes, Tom, I don't want to be here either. This is just what, like, I have to do
Yeah,
this,
you
you know,
have to.
at this stage. And I was like, I really respect that. Thank you
Yeah,
for
good.
acknowledging that.
Yeah,
I feel better. You don't, but I do.
Does that make you like open up a bit more? Like we got like at least a bit of mutual respect, like with the.
I would say one of the, not regrets, but I probably never got to the stage in my career where I was comfortable enough to actually talk to the media a lot. Obviously, I was under the microscope quite a bit, especially at my time at the Dogs. But like, I think about all the work that I did. I like quite enjoy talking to the media and everyone else because it's fun. And you just realize that everyone's just a normal person, you know, maybe with an abnormal job. But during my time at footy, I wasn't, sort of that forthcoming about it. I think it probably would have helped, honestly, hopefully. If, you know, I think one of the good things that's come out of the new sort of media format is that, you know, you can actually see who these people are. And for better or worse at times, like some of them really struggle to be authentic when they're out there talking to people. But for a lot of guys, I think it's made them very approachable. And I think that means that people can actually see that it's more than just footy.
That's
you
it.
know?
100%. No, I love it. I feel like that's a difficult thing we're kind of finding in footy these days is a lot of players get ridiculed quite a bit when they don't kind of open up and talk to the media and stuff. But then when players actually are pretty honest and show what they're like outside of footy, they're also getting ridiculed. So it'd be it'd be a tough spot for a lot of these players to be in, to be like, how much do I actually show the media and put myself out there, or do I just mainly focus on footy?
There's this quote that I heard. So when they, you know how they do the roasts in the US?
Yeah.
And this is not to make it political, just to be very clear about what I'm about to say. It's not a political statement. When they do the roast, there was one year where Trump was getting roasted and they were hammering him, right? It was like all the most heinous stuff. And straight after, apparently after they finished filming, he went up to one of the comedians and goes, great television, you know? And I think that's kind of like, the reason I bring that up is it's kind of like the approach that if you want to survive in the media landscape in the AFL and you want to be participating in it, you kind of got to be up for all of the crap that comes with it and realize none of it's real. None of it actually is like, no one actually believes half the things that they say. And it is all about generating the next round of conversation. And it's just great television. It's like kind of the point. And I think for a lot of guys, if you're at a stage where you're willing to get involved and participate, then it's not going to be like all nice stuff unless you're like DAICOS and then everyone gets upset because it's too nice. Just round and round we go.
We actually were speaking about that the other day with DAICOS, like, because he's obviously such a freak.
Yeah.
And we saw with Ablett even, like, he was getting like boos late in his career because he was just so good. Fans would just be booing him. And we're kind of seeing that vibe with DAICOS. And Australia, I feel like, has like this tall poppy syndrome kind of issue.
Yep.
And even when players, like, there's a standard that is just so good. And when they show maybe like, oh, Nick DAICOS turns it over one time and
I
floodgates
don't know.
open.
And maybe I'm not privy to it. I don't see it as much. I feel that like Nick's an interesting one because he is so prolific. And when he doesn't play that well, he's got a defendable stat sheet. Which again, if you look at BONT, like my reasoning for saying like BONT's better is simply because it doesn't feel like when you watch him play that he's ever padding the stat sheet at all. And I'm not saying Nick does it in a bad way, but he's such a ball winner. And Ablett was the same. Like his bad games when he was at Gold Coast in particular, like 34 and a goal. And
still
you go,
racking up 3.
I'm like, I never got more than 24 disposals, I think. And I'm like, I remember watching the King's birthday game and Nick's first half was outstanding, but his second half was like, he kind of went missing. He still had 12 disposals or whatever it was in the second half. But I didn't see an outpouring of criticism of Nick post that game, whereas maybe with other players you would get that. But his first half, he also had 18 and kick 2. And it's like, do you know what I mean? It's sort of he's just got such a defendable position because he's never out of the game, even if he's not as effective as he can be.
Yeah, his worst game is like most blokes' best game.
And that's what we've been saying for years. And like our whole family are just Mad Doggies fans as well. So Mum will defend
Where you guys from?
BONT for years.
Riddles Creek.
Yes.
Massive ranges.
I do a lot of work in the country. So
beauty.
Love that.
Beauty. We just moved out, so we now live in Sunbury.
So just one sort of regional centre at a time.
Basically just plopping over.
John O'Rourke territory, Sunbury.
Yep.
15-minute trip.
Who else is from Brambles from Sunbury? Guthrie's.
Yep, the Guthrie's are there. Yep, perfect. But literally, we've been saying for years, it's like, feels like BONT getting 20, 25 touches is way more impactful than what you'd see like when DAICOS gets his 35 and stuff. Because we just see, you rarely see him with those cheap little handballs or stuff. It's just every touch he has feels like it's effective and it's making an impact on the game.
I actually have no idea what the truth of this is, but I imagine, because Nick kicks the ball a lot too, but he tends to, it seemingly kick shorter than BONT a lot. But then on the flip side, I remember them talking about Petraka's game last year and he kicked it long too much and it was very much like he just went territory. Yeah. And sort of BONT's always felt like he's had that sort of best option capability. And in particular, like if you looked at Buddy towards the end of his career, one of the biggest pats on the back that he got is his field kicking was phenomenal. And he didn't kick the ball 20 metres. He kicked it 40, but it got there super quickly. Broke a game open, broke the line. And I feel like BONT's really mastered that. The other thing you can say about BONT too, which I think is really commendable, is although he started his career very, very strongly, if you actually look at his stats, it's like he added 2 or 3 disposals and then a goal to his stat sheet over the years. And he's got this really smooth trajectory of improvement and personal accolades and respect from the players around the league in particular. And what does he want? 3 or 4 MVPs, coaches awards, those types of things. And it's just testament, I think, to his never-ending desire to improve, which is really rare. As much as you might think that you would find that in a lot of AFL players, it's not really the case. Like the consistency that he's shown to improve and get better and be excellent every year is truly remarkable.
You guys were obviously in the same draft class. Like you pick 1, him pick 4. Was there competition there, like before you were drafted?
No, to be honest, like, and I'd say this to everyone, and I think, I've spoken to BONT about this. It must have been years ago. But BONT's draft year trajectory was not that good until probably 7 or 8 rounds to go in the TAC Cup. So we had BONT was like a smoky outsider for the most part. He played in the AIS with me. He played in the state stuff with me. And for the most part, they actually didn't let him play in the middle of the ground. So he played a lot of time on the wing, half forward, and his results reflected that. And then once he got back to sort of the TAC Cup Talent League, at the end of that year, he went back into the midfield for the Northern Knights, and his improvement is sort of pretty well documented from there. And he just went through the roof, and he ends up getting taken at pick 4. There's also a conversation that I heard at some stage that essentially that night there was like a bunch of other clubs like laughing at the Bulldogs that they'd stretched to grab him at 4. They're like, oh, these guys are crazy. And obviously, you know,
They're laughing
they
now.
laugh, and they're all like, oh, we probably could have picked him. But again, so like if you put a line between BONT now and BONT sort of basically in the middle of 2013 when we got drafted, his trajectory is absolutely astronomical because he certainly wasn't the dominant player in that first half of the year that so many people think of him as now. And he has made the stretch to get him at 4 the best pick of all time because of his results on the field. But at the time, it was certainly like, we're not sure what's going to happen here. And it was sort of in the end of the era of let's pick up all of these athletes that are like not good at footy. And because of BONT's build and the way that he plays the game and the fact that he's like at the time, he was like quite like lanky of sorts. I think there was sort of this, is he just another project? And obviously in his first year, he proved that wrong pretty quickly.
Yeah. Didn't take him long to have an impact.
No, definitely not.
No, and that's the word, right? Impact has always been BONT's strong suit. So no competition. And really there wasn't a lot of competition for pick 1 in my head. Like remembering that like performance aside, the weighting towards taking a key position player high in the draft is really high because there's not many of us, right? So pick 2 was Josh Kelly. Pick 3 was Jack Billings, Dom Sheed, Cade Colajasny, Nath Freeman. Who else was in there? Ben Lennon was up there somewhere. There was a few. And a lot of those guys were sort of, again, they weren't key position players. So I think the next key position player probably wasn't taken till, maybe Cam McCarthy, 14 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's not 100% right. There's something. But my point being, it was sort of like, you know, where are you going to find another key forward who, you know, was averaging 5 goals a game basically as a junior?
So you were basically like, did you feel you were the consensus one, like number 1 for basically that whole
probably from about like, I was probably consensus top 3 going into the year from my memory. And then I was probably consensus 1 from 3 rounds in probably.
Yeah. And then you get into a team and John O'Patten was picked, was it 2 years before? And then Lockie Whitfield was the year before.
Scully was 2 years before that.
Yeah. So it's like, and then Jezza was obviously already there.
Jez was there and he was a 17-year-old pick from Dartmoor. So he was taken before his draft year. He would have probably gone pick, 1, 2 or 3, I'd say.
Yeah. So you go from kicking 5 in the TAC Cup and then you like put into this team of just like young key forward talent.
Yeah. And not just key forwards.
Just everywhere.
There's a heap of talented kids and none of them were any good at AFL level yet, or some of them were, of course. But it was a very strange world, the Giants. Like it's hard to describe. And the way that I like try and explain it to people is that whilst the AFL standard is by far and away much more difficult than what the average punter thinks, the culture at most of these footy clubs is probably closer to your local club than you think. Like there's sort of like age hierarchy, there's like the veterans, it's relatively similar. There's culture, there's history, there's, memories of the club, there's past players, there's all that stuff. The Giants had none of that, at all. And so the biggest difference was what the culture of a club was like. And I'd grown up at footy clubs since I was 4 years old. My dad was a suburban folk hero of sorts at Nord. And I was like, this is the first time I've never understood a footy club. That's the opposite of what I've been around. So I feel like that was the hardest transition. And then obviously all of the details of like who was there and, the club was no good at the time. And I often say this after I explain sort of the challenges of the Giants. What they've done at that club has been phenomenal in the last 10 years. And I just don't think people understand just how hard it is to do what they've done and create like an actual culture and a team and a history and, in no small part an identity for that footy club. If you look at the Gold Coast Suns, they've really struggled to do that, I would say. And maybe they've found their form a little bit, but in reality, what are they sitting middle of the table again? The Giants, performance aside, have made it to a grand final. They've made it through a number of final series and they have an identity of a certain type of footy club, which is really tough to do. So I think they've done a great job up there.
Especially with how many blokes have left. It was just the talent.
Well, everyone that Sauce drafted ended up at the other clubs that Sauce ended up at. Like it was wild. Like all of the guys that I played with, a lot of them ended up playing at Carlton afterwards, and then all of the guys at Carlton have now ended up at St Kilda. It's he's obviously got good belief in the people that he drafts.
That's it.
100%. No, it is really impressive what Giants were able to do because, you do look at Gold Coast and what last year was the first time they've won a final. And pretty much from 2016 onwards, Giants have been pushing for top 4 most years and being an upper echelon.
Yeah, and it's not every year. And look, they've been through a few iterations of that team, with probably the likes of Kelly and Toby being sort of the consistent ones. But yeah, they keep finding a way to get back near the top. Or at least in the mix. And again, it's not just Gold Coast made finals for the first time last year. It's the first time they looked even likely,
100%.
really. Like they played around the periphery a couple of years well, like they were 2 or 3 games away. But they were never really like a side that you go, they're a contender in any real form.
Well, this is really the first year they've entered the league with some sort of expectation of and really.
And how long have they been around for?
So far.
14 years or 15 years?
Mm-hmm.
And what Giants were doing that? Yeah, 2016.
Yeah, well, so when I was there in 14, I think it was their 3rd season in the league.
Yeah.
So, that's 5 years in basically, 16. And they really, had every chance to win a flag that year if they hadn't lost to us.
Yes.
Yep. Actually, they would have gone in very high favourites the next week.
Yeah, against the Swans. So 2016, obviously, we're going to touch on 2016, but
I thought you never asked.
We've run together.
It's like the only thing I can talk about.
The prelim, against the Giants, how was it actually playing against the old mob? And was it obviously the game itself felt like it's known it felt like a doggy's home game, and because we just travelled so well.
Yeah, they don't have any supporters,
and they have literally no one to support them. Yeah. But how did that feel playing against old teammates, and just the fact that? Yeah, some of the blokes you used to play with was that one game away from their dream, but then you move on with it with the pups.
Yeah, it was probably a bit bigger than just me. I mean, if you recall, there was a revolving door between the two clubs of pretty significant people for a while there. I mean, Leon Cameron was obviously 17 years of the club. Mm-hmm. Cal Ward was our future captain before he walked and went up there. And I was actually listening to Cal the other day. I think he must have been on Oz Aces or whatever it's called with Tommy. And he was talking about how he had to tell the club the day after Mad Monday, and then they were get out of the room.
We were speaking about this on the way here.
I
was like, dude, that's so rough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we were the culture surely must have been completely different if we were going to do something like that compared to a few years later. I've heard you speak about Bevo, how he just kind of really shifted the culture. And obviously when you signed with the Pups, there was no coach. Hadden McCarthy, he just departed, and Bevo hadn't even been appointed.
Mm-hmm. And 4 weeks, I think.
4 weeks. And then he came, and then obviously just shifted the culture in 1-2 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the year, it's pretty cutthroat. So just to be clear, every year, every player empties their locker in case something happens, basically, right? Nice. So you're not allowed to leave stuff at the club. Your locker is empty. All of your belongings are outside of the club because too many times, obviously in the past, players have left stuff and then they're oh, you're not allowed back in. Or you come back in with an escort.
That meme of opening the door and your passes are working.
And just to be super simple about it, when I left the Giants, I was 18 when I first joined. It was my first email was the Giants email I had. Gone the day after I got traded. My rent was on there. All this stuff. I couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
I was it was like losing your credit card and bank details. I was I've locked out of society. So at that time, big revolving door of players and big rivalry of between the two clubs, which was great for the Giants. And we kind of needed some as well. We've never really had a rivalry club, in not in modern history. And a part of the reason why we haven't is because we haven't been that successful. So a lot of the rivalries come out of, the Geelong Hawthorn, rivalry because they were so competitive with each other for a long time. Mm-hmm. And we had this big rivalry going. And so going into that game was a bit bigger than just Tom versus the ex-Giants players. And to be fair, I was there for best part of 9 months, 9 or 10 months. And I played 9 games and they all hated me, I think.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think one of the things that I've learned in the last 6 or 8 months, probably a real blind spot for me in terms of personal growth, was I probably up until 6 or 8 months ago, still had certain opinions about players of the Giants from that time. And in reality, we were 18-year-old kids and 19 and 20-year-old kids, and we've all grown up and life is very different. I have 2 children of my own. I've been married. I've got a house, whatever. I'm on to my next career. I do all sorts of different stuff now. And so many of the guys that I've run back into, I'm like, oh, they've grown up too. It's I should have let it go a lot earlier. And it wasn't like a thing that I thought about every day, but I was like, oh, this is who these people are. And I'm like, no, this is who they were 12 years ago. Sure. And so I think all of us have sort of come to a point where we look back at that period very differently to what we did at the time.
Yep, for sure.
And I'm pretty happy about what happened. So
I think you got the last laugh.
Yeah.
Just a bit.
It's good to have, obviously, the history of victory on your side, for sure.
Oh, for sure. That game, for us, like just as Doggy supporters, that was like the Dogs-Giants game was just one of the craziest. Probably my favourite game I've ever watched, honestly.
Yeah, I think so.
And
I think a lot of people would share that with you.
Yeah.
It's one of the toughest. And I think, I'm now at the stage where I go back in my day. Because footy, I've got lots of opinions on footy today. It feels to me that era, probably up until maybe the Richmond run, is kind of like the footy that I remember. I feel like the rule changes in particular that have come in have made it very plasticky. Yeah. And it's been a bit of a trend around the world. Like and we were talking off air before around the NBA, like the NBA feels very plasticky to me now compared to what it was in 2016 at the end of my high school experience in 2013 with Miami and LeBron and Wade and Bosh and all that sort of stuff. Where I was like, oh, this meant something. And now it kind of feels like a bit gimmicky to me.
Yeah, very orchestrated.
Very commercial. And I think the AFL, unfortunately, some of that seems to have leaked into me. Like some of the rule changes, like the lasso rule and the stand rule, again, to me, are like against the fabric of what's made the game special.
Yep.
And our game is unique because it is unique, and it's special because it's unique. And, to see like last touch out of bounds, that like hurts my soul.
Yeah.
Because that's not what the game was when I grew up. And so that prelim in particular, I think, was like everything that embodied like the spirit of the game, which is just pure determination and effort and a grind and big moments and all of that stuff, which just makes the game so good to watch,
And that was the key for that run in 2016. Just pure heart, soul. Like we had, like there was probably a talent deficit, at least compared to like the Hawks, like what you guys were playing.
Yeah, I mean the Hawks were getting a bit older.
They were getting a bit older for sure.
Yeah,
but
I would say our team that year, we had the most clear identity of what it meant to play the way we played.
Yeah.
And the best vision you'll see of it is when players used to get the ball at halfback, they'd turn every single time to the open side because that's all we were ever going to do. And they'd find the first guy and then someone would be open. And if you just watch the ball, you go, how did everyone get open? But if you watch the behind the goals vision, everyone was just gone. They knew where the ball was going.
Yeah.
Like it was every single time. And we just knew that as soon as the ball got taken to stoppage, we were going to handle 8 times to get ourselves open to get to the open side.
Yeah.
And that's all we did. Like it was super simple.
Yeah.
And what that meant was we didn't need to rely on individuals to win us games as much as we were just going to overwhelm you. By the time that we got to the end of the game, we were going to have 60 inside 50s. You were going to make 10 mistakes and we were going to kick 15 goals. Yeah. 15 goals, 15 usually. And you just wouldn't be able to keep up with us.
Oh. Well, literally on our way here, we were touching on that as well. Like throughout that entire final series, it did feel like that there wasn't this clear number one person throughout every game. Every game
would be the exception.
I understand he was massive throughout the entire run, but it just felt like everyone had a moment throughout the final series where they really stamped on. Like one of the biggest ones, like that we remember a lot, was first half Clay Smith against the Giants, which was just so memorable, and just seeing how much that meant to him. And then obviously BONT on Hodge in the Hawthorn game was massive as well. Like that was a bit of a passing of the torch moment. It felt like everyone really stamped
in the
themselves.
grand final.
100%, just huge. And then, obviously, you definitely had a few moments in the grand final.
Had a big moment in you.
Dude, I can't remember.
One or two, boys.
Honestly, we got to ask about that.
Yeah.
So, just the big goal, take us through just like before, like just during the play, like before it happened, you see Dale Morris tackle Buddy. And then just
I'm not sure I saw anything. No, I
can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. I like the whole day was a weird one because I think we'd just gotten to a point where it's like we're playing with house money. Like we'd sort of, we're all kind of just happy to be there. We're probably collectively, I would say, and maybe not all of us, but certainly the younger guys, we were pretty naive to what like the stakes were for the club because 7 lost prelims, 62 years, it's all very overwhelming and awesome to talk about now. But like the thought that we hadn't won a flag, like which was, longer than most of our parents had been alive is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Almost all of our parents, I would say.
Yep.
So we sort of all came in with this, at least I did, sort of this concept of like, we can't really lose from here. And we'd beaten the Swans a couple of times in tight games in the years before. So we were pretty confident against those guys. And they just didn't seem to have, these always competitive games, and we just seemed to win, to put it really simply.
Yeah.
And I think, that moment in particular was kind of one of those things where all of us were just playing on instinct, and so was I. And, to this day, and that's what I tell everyone, if the whistles were a bit louder, I probably wouldn't have kicked that goal because I probably wouldn't have played on.
Yeah.
Because I didn't know it was a free kick. I was just like, oh, ball.
Yeah, there it is.
And the other thing that I tell people is because there's a narrative, I think, in a lot of big moments in big games where people go, oh, so lucky, right? And sure, like luck's involved in our game. I'd say more so than most, just given the dynamic nature of an oval ball. But that type of kick, right, I had done thousands of times in my life because every single drill, and I've explained this publicly a few times, every time there's a drill end, the coach goes to the middle of the ground, everyone runs into the middle of the ground, right? And I always used to grab a footy or two so that when the drill, the next drill started and the coach goes, great, run out to the cones or whatever, I could turn around and have a shot from 65 metres out because I loved kicking long goals, right? And me and Matt Suckling used to do it. Tom Campbell used to do it. There was a number of us. Mitch Wallace used to try. He's like my best mate. He's in Bali at the moment, so I'm going to send this clip to him. There was a lot of guys who did it. So that exact kick, the turnaround, wheel, and have a shot from as far out as possible, like I would have done it as more times than I can count.
Yeah.
And so they're all the little things that you do in those moments to get the ball to do what you want it to do. I didn't have to think about it, but I do recall going, well, I'm going to have to kick it at the left post because when I kick sort of 50, the ball goes from right to left. But if I kick 65, the ball ends up actually going back the other way because you've got to put so much force through it. Yeah. And it's sort of like the buddy, he used to get that shape on the ball for a left footer, the opposite of me, right? Yeah. So all of that as sort of went through my mind subconsciously as you go and kick the ball. And then I kicked it so bloody hard that I was like, oh, this thing will fucking sail through post high, not realizing how far out I was. And then it was like for dramatic effect. Like it was like a movie where they go, you know what we'll do just to make it seem more dramatic? We'll get the ball to bounce up on its just flat. And then just as Jake Lloyd runs in, it's just going to drop over the line. Yep. And it's like, it's crazy.
I think every Dogs fan's heart just stopped there for a moment.
Oh,
they were just like,
was
holy
the longest
shit, what is
bounce.
going on?
Imagine how depressing that would have been to not get to touch that ball. Mate, you sprint back like 70 metres and it goes through. And look, it was one of those, it was a great moment. And it sort of, I think the reason why the Bulldogs Premiership in 16 is so well remembered by so many people is it was like this absolute comedy of things going right. Yeah. Like, it was insane. Like we lose all these players at the end of the year, then we get them all back. We get a bye, which by the way, the bye had nowhere near as much impact as what people say because we had to go from Perth on a Sunday night to Perth on a Thursday night. Yeah. The worst version of the extra bye that you can possibly get. It's not like we got 2 weeks. Yeah. And then by the way, the day before, and I think this is pretty publicly known as well. So I flew over 2 days before the game, which is not typical. Typically to fly the day before, even to Perth. And it was me and Ruffy and Matty Boyd, a few of and Eastern Wood, guys who had injuries. So they just wanted to get us over there so we didn't have any swelling issues on the day. Yep. But the majority of the team, all the support staff fly over the day before and the flight gets cancelled. So they don't get into Perth until like 7:30 or 8 o'clock at night when they're supposed to have been there at 1 in the afternoon. So we're supposed to go to Subiaco and train and do our captain's run. We end up doing our captain's run at 8:30 at night at Trinity Oval, which is a school nearby, in the dark. Right? And the fans turned up still. It was crazy. Yep. So that's our first final. Like away territory, West Coast were red hot at the time. They were a much more senior team than us. And we're obviously in the midst of the, biggest rabble fans in the world, which is obviously like going into Subi wasn't that nice. Let me just put that mildly. For Freo and for West Coast. And I actually saw someone in Bali who was a West Coast supporter. Actually, it was on the weekend at the Community Cup for Recklink. And she goes, I'm a West Coast supporter. I'm like, worst fans. She's like, really? She goes, it was always nice where I used to sit. I'm like, I don't know where you used to sit, but near the boundaries at Subiaco, Freo and West Coast were very hard to handle as fans. Right. And that's like, nothing went right. And we still get the job done and we win, pretty convincingly. Then we go against the Hawks, and Tory Dixon misses 8 shots on goal in the first half, and we look like we're going to lose. We're down by 34 points or something like that. We beat those guys and so on and so forth. And then even the little moments in the games with Jack McRae kicking a set shot to basically put us ahead in the prelim with like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to go. Like all that stuff, just insane.
Yeah.
Insane.
100%. Oh, and even touching on the West Coast one, like I remember that year in terms of like a couple of weeks beforehand, playing against Freo and getting done. And I think as Dogs fans, I don't think anyone was overly confident heading into that first round because it was just like, well, Freo aren't as good of a
there's
side.
There's a few things I won't share publicly about the Freo game, but like it wasn't a great day.
It was Pav's last game though.
257,
yeah.
And I remember it was what would you say? It wasn't going that well for Will in the ruck, Minson, who came in for that game. I think I don't reckon he played. I think he might have just come back in for that day. And I hurt my ankle quite badly and got it jabbed a few times in the first quarter, end of the first. And I was doing my tests on the sidelines. And, I was stuffed, like I couldn't run. And they go, so coach, he can't run, he can't jump, and he can't change direction. What do you want to do with him? I was put him in the ruck against Sandy.
Far out.
And I was like, and that's just like, anyway, it actually went all right. The jabs are amazing. They work really well. Not recommended to be done by public consumption, but I ended up having a pretty good day. But it was just, it's crazy. And it couldn't have been worse. Nothing could have gone. And they blitzed us. They outran us. It was crazy.
Yeah. And then just
not a single good thing happened that day.
Crazy. And then, just come back a few weeks later. And
against the team was better, right? Because Freo weren't any good.
No, that's the thing. That's why I guess, it was, there wasn't too much confidence. At what point throughout the year, because we obviously had a great year that year and then just had so many injuries in the back end. But at what point did you and also the playing group feel like, no, we can win it?
I don't think we really ever thought about it. I think we just did sort of the typical cliche 1 week at a time stuff. I think our success in those 2 years in 15 and 16 is greatly understated by most people. They go, they came from nowhere. It's not true. We should have been top 4 in 2015. We just missed out. I think we lost against Brisbane maybe in the last round, being a bit tricky with selection. Yeah. And then we just get pipped by Adelaide, who were also a very good side, and probably should have been top 4 too, right? They were a really good side. Yeah. And I think Tex played really well.
He had the bump on the sideline.
Tippett was there as well.
Yep.
And he was playing good footy.
And Charlie Cameron, Eddie Betts. Yeah,
they were a
stacked.
seriously good team.
Stacked.
So then at Kibbegal, we got knocked out first round the year before. It's but against a really good side at the G in an absolute thriller, right? And it was a super high-scoring game from memory. And then we go back and we win, again, 15 games or something in 2016, and we miss out, as you say, with a few injuries at the end of the year. But 15 games gets you pretty close to the top 4 most years, right? Yeah. So, again, I think some things went wrong and didn't go our way that led us to land where we did in 7th, but it was it was a humble 7th. We should have been probably higher in the ladder. So those 2 years, we win a lot of games of footy and obviously going to win the flag. But really, those 2 years, we were as good a side as any for that entire period from my point of view.
Yeah, it was. Just earlier in that year, 2016, obviously Bob went down really early. And that was one of just the worst days for a Dogs fan. That was heartbreaking. How was it though? Obviously Easton Wood stepped up heavily throughout that year. How was that first for the playing group and then for Easton and Bob themselves just dealing with that all at once and then obviously going on down?
Yeah, it's a good question. The weird thing about footy is basically you have a day to get over all that stuff and there's an acknowledgement of the severity of losing Bob and not to mention he was coming off an All-Australian year in 2015, just to put the footy part on the table.
Yeah. Yep.
But then you got to keep moving, right? And it was so early in the year that I think it sort of, and this is the harshest part about footy, is that Bob faded into the background quite a bit. And to your point, Easton stepped up. And Easton led in his own way. He's very different to Bob. And, was an incredibly talented player and was playing incredibly good footy at the time, which really helped, right? Because being a captain not playing well is very hard, especially when you've been thrown into the fire like he was that year with Bob going down. The worst moment of that year was when Mitch Wallace broke his leg, from my point of view. He's the best mate in the world.
Yep.
And Jack Redpath did his knee. That night against St Kilda was the worst day in my time at the Dogs from a playing point of view. And without getting into all of the explicit details, like Mitch was still at the game when we came off the ground at full time, and he was still in extraordinary pain and was very loud, you know?
Yeah. He kicked his own boot, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, it's typically how that happens, and you know, it's like an incredibly bad injury, like obviously without saying, but it's hard to express just how much that that night took a toll on all of us, I think, and we also lost after being up by a lot of and all that sort of stuff. So I think that game was the hardest. And I remember, one of the really unfortunate things, we had the 10-year reunion this year, and the people have said, "Oh, how was it?" And I think the biggest thing that I have respect for and that I'm grateful for from that night and for the 10 years since and the people who have been involved in the footy club is every single person pretty much turned up to the 10-year reunion. And people go, "Of course they did. We won a flag." It's like, yeah, but it was only good for like 22 of us.
Yeah.
And for everyone else, they either feel they missed out, rightly or wrongly, or in the case of people like Mitch and Jack and Bob and these guys, they missed out through tragedy in their own personal careers. And everyone was there. And it was an amazing night to celebrate not just the players and the club. I mean, it's easy for me to turn up. Best day of my life. Like, obviously, barring kids and all that sort of stuff, all the provisions.
How'd you tick those off?
My wife did actually say in a group message that a wedding we went to this year was in top 5 moments of her life. So I was like, listed out the other 4. I'm like, be careful. But yeah, like it's easy for me to go and have a good time, but it's hard for a lot of people. It's not a great memory for a lot of people. And this is what footy's like. And I remember, leading up into the Hawthorn game, actually, like, and I won't go into details because I'm not sure this is a story I'll share publicly, but like a few of the different guys over that period of time reached out and were like, "Dude, I need to we got to go do something. I'm like really struggling with this because I can't play." And, Lin Jong basically almost gets back. He has the amazing story of taping the wrong shoulder in the VFL. Yep. We go and watch the VFL Grand Final. Fletcher Roberts, I remember being visibly like really, really nervous that Matt Suckling was going to come back in. Matt Suckling thought he was going to and he'd already played in 2 flags, but he was like one of our best players that year. Yeah. And so there's all these people bubbling away under the surface who are, really, really unlucky to not play. And in the lead up to the game, your job as a player who's been selected and is going to play, which there was probably 20 of us who were certain we're going to play that week. And even there's like this tiny little voice in the back of your head going, "Oh, don't drop me." Like for all of us, we were like, the only job we had was to ignore all of this pain and suffering around us and go, "Oh, well, I can't think about that now. I've got to think about getting the result on the weekend." As hard as it is, much as I love these guys, so these are a lot of my best mates in the world at the time, they can't matter that week. You have to deal with it afterwards.
It's interesting that you mentioned that Saints game because I actually had that noted. We were at that game and we've never felt anything
at halftime because
like
Mitch did in the second quarter, I think. At halftime, Mitch is like, we're trying to do Bevo's trying to do the halftime address and Mitch is screaming, and like Bevo's like visibly upset, like trying to like get through it. Like, "All right, boys, out we go." Like he was crazy. And I've never seen. This is the other thing, like. Doing ACL is like a tragedy, right? It's usually like a really big emotional thing. Jack Redpath, incredible bloke and incredible resilience that night to just be like, "Oh, mate, don't worry about me."
Yeah,
I'm like,
he's just done his knee. 12 months gone,
And it was his 2nd or 3rd time he'd done it in his life because I think he did one before he got drafted. And he's like, "Yeah, no, it's not about me tonight." Mitch is, I'm like, that's crazy.
100%.
There's not much that supersedes an ACL.
No, exactly. Oh, that's what made it so tragic because, obviously Redpath did go under the radar that game. It's like the whole thing with Mitch happened and then you're like, geez, we also lost Jack Redpath as well. And it's like, that was one of the worst nights as a Dogs fan ever. We had, I think, 2 cars full of family members through that game and then went back to our aunties afterwards. I don't think it's ever been so quiet. Oh my God.
I'm actually pretty sure we cried.
Yeah, no, I definitely cried that day.
How old were you guys have been?
I was still like 13.
I was 6, so 10. What's that, like 10 or 11?
So it's not like we're like young when we just were shattered, bro. It was crazy.
It was heartbreaking times. It was heartbreaking times. Yeah, no, but if someone told us we'd be winning the flag later that year, would have called him crazy. But that is,
and then not to mention, obviously, I can't remember who we play the next week, but you got to get back on the bike because that was like later in the year, right? So 2/3 of the way through, probably.
That was like round 18 or round 19.
I think. Did we go to Geelong the next week?
Yeah, went to
Yes.
Geelong.
And then we had
McRae,
LEBRON. Oh,
Mm.
man. I remember sitting in. So at Geelong, it's like, and I don't know if it's changed since they've redone the facilities, but the opposition gets sent to like the opposite side to the ground, to the main stand. So you're like in the boondocks, like out the back, you know. And we're sitting in this little pigeonhole of a, you know, theaterette, which is like as big as the studio we're in. And everyone's sitting on top of each other. And, you know, like we're getting presented to. He's like, all right, it's been a tough week. Let's go out there and do it again. And then like both players go down before halftime. And I'm like, what is happening?
We just couldn't buy a trick. Could not buy a trick that whole season. And then all of a sudden it all came together.
So you're obviously busy, doing plenty, radio. You've written a book. How's life after football?
Yeah, it's been busy. Like I think you play, like when you're playing, you're like, oh, I'm so busy. Such a hard worker. And everyone presumes that you are. So much downtime, especially in the middle of the year.
Yeah.
Like when the games are on, you basically got like at least 2 days a week where you're doing nothing. And you put it under the banner. And this is like one of my other great mates, Nick Floston from Richmond. He always used to say, 24/7 athlete, mate. Or 24/7. Everything that I do contributes to how I play on the weekend. Yeah. And so we use that to justify spending a lot of time on the couch, playing games, PlayStation or whatever. And so since finishing footy, like much busy. I mean, obviously the family stuff certainly ramps up. I've got a 4-year-old and a 5-month-old at the moment. Got married, you know, have a number of different jobs. I think like the banner of things that I like to do is typically fallen under, I like to try and help people reach their potential. And I don't take it from the like optimization side that's very popular on Instagram, the saunas and ice bath crew, which is fine. Love it. It's great. All the run club stuff, I think it's been an incredible uplift in Australian culture. I think it's awesome. My view on it is, or where I spend my time, maybe to put it better, is I spend a lot of time working on the fact that most people don't get to where they should get to or want to get to because they can't get over the start line. And in particular, with regards to managing their own mental health challenges, or mental health as a broad spectrum of people, is that it's been a very challenging period, I think, in the last 5 or 6 years since I retired. Remembering that I retired in the middle of 2019, straight into COVID, straight into obviously all of the challenges that have spilled out from that, the cost of living, the conversations around housing, conversations around, you know, people dropping out of sport, dropping out of, you know, a lot of the social fabric that we had prior to COVID, the challenges that people like yourselves in terms of timing went through, you know, sort of the formative years of your lives at school, online, all of that stuff. And so I probably do between 80 to 100 public events speaking a year in that space around you know, really around how to actually manage this stuff properly. And also, I think to really be clear that there is still an assumption, I think, in our country, and we talk a lot about stigma and awareness. I think we've done a lot of work to move past that being the only conversation. But I do think that there is an assumption that there is a correlation at all times between success in life and on the field, so to speak, to how you feel and how you're actually managing these things. And time again, we see many of our most successful people really struggle with this, obviously with, you know, completely dire consequences at times. So in that work, you know, as you mentioned, some of it's with SEN. I do Wellness Wednesday every week. We talk about a lot of those big boulders, those big topics that people tend to not get a lot of conversations around. Again, we have this great conversation around like optimizing for success, which is awesome. But what I've found in my, you know, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of speaking events and groups of people that I've met, and the 15 to 20,000 people I probably meet every year, is it's the big ticket items. It's finances, it's, you know, health, it's relationships, it's community, it's a sense of belonging. It's all these really big things that they don't get right that contribute predominantly to the challenges they face within their own heads. So I try my best to push that. It's obviously something I've dealt with a lot in my young life in particular. And that evolves all the time. It evolves as someone who's now being a parent with much different pressures than I used to have. That fundamentally changes your relationship at home. It changes your priorities at work and so on and so forth. So it's been an incredible 6 years since I've retired. And yeah, I love everything that I'm doing at the moment. I'm very excited about the future. So,
it's incredibly admirable, man. Like it's obviously like it's a growing space, as you said, like the mental health space. Like I'm pretty sure, it used to be referred to as like homesickness, essentially. Like it was
sort of that was one of the
and it's.
I think everyone's looking for a simple way to describe it, and I do think, by the way, and I say this very often publicly, I do think we have in some ways gone not too far in terms of having a conversation around mental health, but we really struggle to strike the balance of we need to deal with this stuff. We need to be aware of it. We need to know how to actually cope and teach our kids how to cope and our young people in particular, but people obviously all over. But at the same time, there's still a real positive impact to working hard, being ambitious, performing, so to speak, that at times I think we don't get the balance right. We sort of say, hey, the mental health stuff is something you should focus on all the time. But really, the conversation around dealing with it is so that you don't have to focus on it all the time, so that you can manage it in a very small way consistently, so that you can actually go and live the life that you want to live. And I think that's what we want for our young people. We want them to still be, free and capable and successful. We just don't want them to ignore the fact that these things can happen in your life, and they often do for a lot of people. So then what are we going to do about that? And that balance is a really difficult conversation to strike, because we want to be empathetic to people who are struggling. We also want to help those people who are struggling to actually not be in that same position moving forward, which is, it's a tricky line to walk.
100%. No. Literally, and I think even that just kind of foreshadows a lot within other industries as well, where it's when things like that happen, we tend to try and overcorrect as much as possible,
for sure.
And really try and make things as good as we possibly can, where it's obviously you need to just find that happy balance in between and really.
Yeah, I mean, typically with major issues like this, there's always an overcorrection, and then ideally we find ourselves somewhere back in the middle. The very real reality that people are facing at the moment is that those big boulders that I mentioned before are getting challenged really, really difficultly, and a lot of people are doing it really tough. And unfortunately, it does strike me that this conversation around mental health often sort of appears from the corporate towers of Collins Street. But as someone who does a lot of work with WorkSafe, for instance, and we're down in Tarwin this week in Gippsland, and we're in the country a lot throughout the year, it's very different challenges in Gippsland than it is in in Burke Street.
Oh, for sure.
And I think we would be very wise to understand that whilst this is a collective challenge, the specific problems that exist in each environment and community are actually quite different. And needed to be addressed accordingly, which I think is a challenge, because it means it's not a one-size-fits-all, which would be way easier to be able to deal with.
I actually got a question, because obviously you're the number one pick, pressure immense. If you could give one piece of advice to a younger footballer maybe listening at home who might not necessarily be the number one pick like you were, but is hoping AFL's their dream, what would be that one piece of advice just to handling an AFL career, even pre, during, post, and just, one major thing that would stand out for you to hold them in their best stead?
Yeah, I mean, it's a big question, especially given the pre, during, and post comment. One thing I'll say is it's important to understand in the context of my experience that, yes, pressure is a real thing. Some of it's not real. There's an inferred pressure that comes when you're being talked about a lot, that you think that everyone's thinking about you all the time. That's not really true. But what I experienced firsthand, which was really the most challenging part, is that the feedback that I received, let's say to put it nicely, was very real. It was people in the street, at local footy matches, obviously on the field as a player, but equally in my personal life, people feeling comfortable to come up to a 19, 20-year-old kid and share their very negative feelings was very common for me. And it was happening most days for an extended period of time. So that stuff's very hard to deal with. In terms of the overall sentiment that I would say is my advice, or maybe a lesson that I learned from a mistake that I made, is I had a very clear picture in my head that I was special and unique. And, I think we do teach each other this, and we tell each other that, everyone's their own special person, which is true. We're all individuals, whatever. But I think that the experiences that we have as people are vastly speaking pretty similar. We all have bad days. We all have bad months. We all feel like the world's hopeless at times, and there's challenges we can't solve for, and we don't have the answers. That's all very normal. Because I was so unique, I didn't feel like anyone would be able to answer the questions that I had. So I spent a lot of time dealing with this stuff on my own. And I do think that bled into my football as well, where I didn't probably access as much support from coaches and everyone else, because I was like, I'm the number one pick, $7 million man. I've got to have the answers. I can't show any weakness. And that was a mistake, and it's certainly something that I've tried to rectify throughout my life. As someone who's, well-spoken and quite confident and 6'7", there's an assumption that I've got it all figured out all the time. And that's, is pervasive even into today's world and the world that I live in now, but that's certainly not the case. I'm still trying to figure things out in my own life, and there's certainly problems that I feel like are really challenging for me now that I have a much better frame of how to deal with. I have a lot more people I talk to, and I try to get out of my own skin. So generally speaking, I think you don't need to have all the answers is a great place to start. One thing I will touch on though, just quickly on the before, during and after piece is, my biggest fear and concern in the AFL is always transition post-career. I think this identity crisis that people talk about is sort of hidden the real problem. And I think about it like the problem with like saying that it's an identity problem is that it's really hard to fix identity problems. My perspective on it is it's very much more practical, right? It's you go into the league, you succeed or whatever in some way, shape or form to varying degrees over varying periods of time. And then if you don't have anything to go to next, you basically go, I have no value to offer to the world, right? And that ends up being a financial problem. It ends up being a purpose problem. It ends up being a direction problem. And it's all sorts of things that come from that. One of the reasons that happens is that players don't have a path to follow when they leave because they don't set themselves up to do so. So they don't choose an industry, they don't choose a job, they don't choose a vocation or an area of study or whatever it is. So then they have to make it up when they finish. And a lot of guys get married young, have kids young, buy houses young, and therefore they're like, okay, well, there's now like 7 major things that I have to sustain to keep my life the way that it is.
Yep.
Very scary.
Yep.
So what they typically do is then they go, oh, well, I maybe will end up in the media. And there's like, no one ends up in the media. Like it's such a small fraction of players. And like there is a unspoken rule in the media that you kind of have to have enough credentials to put up on your little byline on the screen, right? So a lot of guys don't have that. 125 games is not enough, or 61 games like me is not enough. 2016 Premiership player, number 1 draft pick, that might be, right? And it's not fair. It's just the way that this stuff works.
Yeah.
So what do you go and do then? Well, your options are very limited. You go, well, I need to go play local footy because I'm going to have to chase some cash, which often means I have to go travel into the country to do it because that's where the money is, especially for one-off games and for 6-game stretches and whatever. And then you go, well, that's going to affect my vocational opportunities because I've now got to go and train and play and travel, which is less time to work. It's also less time to see your family. And so on and so forth. And then you end up sort of on this path where you go, money is the only thing that matters. I'm going to get a job that makes me money. And then some of the guys go and work on the tunnels or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. None of that strikes me as a great experience for a lot of guys because they've got no choices. And so what I would express to a lot of players is whether it's the way that you set up your finances and you talk to people who actually know what they're doing to plan for the future, not just tomorrow, or whether it's the fact that you actually go and study or do some work experience or whatever to find out what you want, or you actually choose an industry that you're going to pursue afterwards so that you can start to prepare towards it. Any of that stuff or all of it is a very wise thing to do because even if you go into the ammos where you don't get paid, but maybe they can magically get you a job, if you come in and say, not sure what I want to do, they're not going to be able to help you. You've got to choose. And I think for a lot of guys, they'd be well versed in just saying, I'm just going to try finance or I'm just going to try a trade or whatever. It doesn't really matter what it is. Because then at least people can help you towards that goal throughout your career. And when you're having a conversation with people that can support you, like the coterie groups and the networking and stuff that happens around clubs, you can say, I want to do this. And they can go, I know people that can help.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know the answer to that you don't have that statement, they'll just go, good luck.
Yeah,
you know?
that's it.
So I think for a lot of guys, that's a very scary period of time. And I think there's a lot of work that still needs to be done to make that a smoother transition for a lot of people.
Yeah. Do you reckon that is player-led or should that be league-led as well? Like, do you reckon there's enough in place?
At the end of the day, has to be opt-in by the players, no doubt. And this is some of the feedback that I've gotten when I've spoken to the union about this stuff in the past. But at the end of the day, from my point of view, the conversation ends up falling down when the negotiation at the CBA happens. It goes, how much money are we going to get? Yep. And at the end of the day, it's easier to fight for more money than it is to fight for more like working conditions. And I'm not saying AFL players have bad working conditions at all. Yep. But being able to study, for instance, is almost impossible unless you're willing to go above and beyond to make it happen. Yep. So for me, I studied 3 block mode hours 3 nights a week to get my study done, right?
Yep.
And I basically got through 75, 80% of my study during my footy, and I finished it in the last sort of 6 or 8 months after I retired.
Yep.
that's so not achievable for so many people.
Yeah.
And, I did quite well. Schools have an advantage that I sort of knew how to study and could sort of get through with a decent grade without, killing myself with effort.
Yeah.
So I think the ability to actually go and do the stuff outside of footy that so many people keep saying is so important is really hard logistically to execute on. And so my biggest thing is you've got to create an environment where it's possible and easy.
Yep.
And I'm not sure that that's really happening for various reasons. It's not a fault thing. It's just that's the reality.
Yeah. That's why it's so great to see, obviously, Cody Wademan, he's been through hell and back with his injuries, but God, he is just thriving in like his artistic ventures.
Yeah,
and
it's a lot easier to do when you're injured. Also,
yes, yeah,
a lot more time.
For sure.
And I think Cody probably, to your point, I think it's really positive. But Cody's complicated injury that's gone for a better part of 2 years, right? You have to do something, right? And the club, to their credit, has been, open, I would say and imagine, and maybe he's just done it on his days off or whatever, to actually go, mate, we want you to be happy because if you're miserable and rehabbing a really complicated injury, we're not going to get the best result.
Yep.
So it's in their interest at that moment to go, yeah, we get it. And this is like used to happen with ACLs. Like when guys did ACLs, they go, mate, take a month off.
Yeah.
You're at the stage where it's a really grindy period, go overseas. Right? Get away so you can actually refresh and come back and then build again, because just running for 9 months in the lead up to doing a preseason again is it's not conducive to a great state of mind in most players.
We almost got to wrap up. I've got like the last question I want to ask, but do you want to ask anything?
I reckon you fire away, my man.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
100%.
Well, I think we're going to make this like a kind of ritual thing for every guest we have on. But just
who was your first guest? Actually, that's what I want to know.
Oh, actually, his name was James Burnup, and he's a college punter. And he got drafted he got picked up in the NFL, but he's not in the NFL anymore.
Yeah, didn't end up getting
but
the spot.
Yeah, we actually went to school with him, and that was actually like one of our first steps. And then we just have not had a guest since. So thank you for coming on, man. Thank you for coming on. But this is a very off-topic niche question, but it's very important. So it probably determines if this goes to air or not. Honestly,
I think so.
This whole thing,
I think so.
MJ or LeBron?
I'm 30.
Yep.
So my answer is LeBron.
Man, that's good, man.
But I didn't see Jordan's run.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
It's but it's like, so who's the best player of all time in the AFL? What's your answer?
Well, obviously, we didn't get to see all the players.
Give me an answer.
I think Gary Ablett Jr.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say Junior as well. But then I also think Bond.
So best player in the AFL's history is Buddy.
Okay.
My point of view.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And there's simple reasons for that. Gaz is definitely right up there.
Yeah.
But I played against Buddy, Ablett, Swan, Dusty, Penn, not Juddy. Juddy retired, I think, the year before I got there. But I played sort of in that era of like all of these, like maybe they're the best players ever.
Yeah.
But he kicked 1,000 goals in an era that's almost impossible to kick goals.
Yeah, true.
Like it's sort of, in my head, it's the hardest position on the ground. He had the most pressure. He took the biggest punt. He left one of the great teams to go up and play in Sydney, and still managed to kick 1,000 goals.
Yeah,
Crazy.
Insane.
Like, and again, Gaz is phenomenal, but I just don't. In its orders of magnitude more difficult to be a key forward and be that consistent for 15 years, and just that lethal. Where everything else aside, so I just go, it's too hard. He did something that's almost impossible.
And he was probably the closest forward to, like, in the modern era to win a Brownlow. Like, he was up in
a couple of times.
A lot of counts.
I think I'm third one here, didn't he?
Yeah.
Like early 20, like this was back when voting wasn't like completely like ruined.
Yeah, voting's in shambles.
Mate, it's so stupid.
It's a joke.
This is to the gimmicky thing.
Yeah.
And I don't think this was done by design. I think what's happened is media has become so prolific in all of our lives that umpires are susceptible to it.
Yep.
You're right. And the reason why Patrick Cripps gets 3 votes with 17 disposals or whatever the big story was is because at round 4 or 5, after a few really, 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 really good games, they pick the anointed one and then they talk about it every week. And so there's a inbuilt subconscious
bias
towards it. It has to be.
Yeah.
Because you look, and he's also 6'4", and
he's
around the ball all the time.
You know?
Yep.
But
in no way is he best player in every game. Like,
it's impossible.
Exactly.
That year, it was actually ridiculous because it was like, you just knew it was going to happen.
DAICOS broke the votes record and then Cripps ended up breaking that. And it's like, how's that work?
And then it was
45 votes.
Yeah.
We used to think 30 was a lot. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I think Gaz was like the first player to like break 30. If I'm Swanee maybe. was like, so they're 50% better than those years?
Yeah. And I remember like 2016 Danger, 2017 Dusty. Like they're two of like the greatest years, like individual years. And they didn't get close to 45.
Didn't Dusty win 3 Norm Smiths?
Yeah.
In 3, like, come
Insane
on.
work.
Guys.
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
100%.
Actually, that is one more thing. I remember post-game 2016 grand final. Because like the game summed up the whole finals run where it's like you couldn't really pick like who was the best player. But we had our opinions. We were like, oh, Boydie's a chance. Tom's a chance.
Yeah.
And Picken as well. We thought Picken was because he had some big moments. But we thought, yeah, our uncle actually put money on you. And he's like, I'm going to be a rich man today, lads. Have you ever...
This is like, how many people went to Woodstock? Like 300,000. How many people said 4 million? This is like, with me and gambling on that day, everyone put money on me. And if I looked at like the actual like volume of dollars in, it's probably like $100.
Yeah.
But everyone put 100 on me.
Yeah.
I'm like, how is this possible?
Yeah. Did you ever think about that?
I didn't think I was a chance. I didn't really think about it until Jordan Roughhead came up to me after the game and he grabbed me by like the scruff of the neck and goes, Norm Smith? I'm like, oh yeah, they do that. Because I really wasn't thinking about it, genuinely. And then obviously JJ gets called and everyone's like, oh, it's awesome. And look, it's sort of, as I said, if I had $1 for every time someone had asked me, should I won the Norm Smith, I would have made back all the money I gave back to the footy club. So it's one of those things like it adds to the spirit of the day. As you say, my diplomatic answer is that Pico was certainly should have been a massive chance. And Josh Kennedy had a pretty good argument to be like in a losing grand final. Not that I think we should start giving losing Norm Smith out.
No.
I'm very much in the just give it to someone who was on the winning side so that it's not insult to injury because it would be a real sour taste.
It would have been a terrible way to finish off the 2016 run.
Yeah. But I think, it's sort of one of those things. If I kick my last goal, it's a bit more undeniable. I kick 4 for the day. I miss it by a foot or whatever. If JJ's goal doesn't get overturned, it's much more undeniable because that was the moment. And then, if that had been a goal, I wouldn't have got my chance to kick one from the centre square. What is it? There's a really good saying about, ifs and buts. If we're candy and nuts or something like that, look it up. It's quite good. But it didn't happen. And, at the end of the day, I think what will last in history, selfishly, will be the moment, the goal. And as I said to Brian Taylor on radio at the 10-year on TV, so in the 10-year reunion, greatest piece of commentary in AFL history. Brian,
it is.
He hated that, I think. I mean, I've done a lot of work with Brian, but I don't think he likes it being brought attention back to him. As silly as that may sound.
You guys are like almost like just the ultimate duo.
As soon as he came up to me in the Guard of Honour, I was like, greatest piece of commentary, and he was just like, oh, Tom.
It's iconic, man.
Literally, I think that's sealed into every footy fan's brain, I'm pretty sure.
I've actually done I did a gig with him when he goes, and then Tommy obviously kicked that goal, and he's like, this is in front of like, a couple hundred people. And he goes, and as I summed it up, I thought it was pretty good. Fuck. He's a great man, BT.
Love it.
Well, we literally had so much and we didn't get to like any of it.
No one ever does.
But we really appreciate you coming on, man. And
what was the best thing that we missed?
Oh,
the producer's gone.
Yeah.
Time's up, boys.
Let's get to the Brisbane chatter.
This happened last time I was in here too.
Actually, I did have one last thing. Again, who was best on for the grand final celebration?
I mean, like the Big Z Liver crew were pretty great. But everyone, it was really like, I don't know if this always happens, but it was very like, there was no pecking order. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think there's like and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this doesn't happen in other clubs because that's why they're successful. But like, there was no like, oh, you didn't play, because everyone was almost a premiership player, either VFL or AFL.
Yeah, of course.
It was like 40 of us who just played in a premiership. So it was just such a like even playing field. It was really nice. And then I had shoulder surgery and ankle surgery and hated everything after that.
Which we didn't even get to touch on.
But, I know, literally so much to touch. Literally, but I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been so good. Literally feel like we could chat to you for a few hours, I reckon. But I really appreciate you coming on. It means a lot for us, especially as Mad Doggies fans who grew up watching you and watching the pubs play. It truly means a lot, especially for you to be our first in-guest studio as well.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Always.
Thank you.